Chapter 73 Welcome to Appreciate the Sculptor's Work. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Su Ming did not specifically say what was a pity, but Lin Tian and Su Chongqing both knew it very well. It was a pity. Not only did he fail to capture this member of the criminal organization at such a close distance, instead, he exposed his identity, which caused a huge change in the operation to capture Qu Pengfei, or, now it can no longer be called an arrest. It may be more accurate to call it collecting corpses. After all, no one expected that this member of the drug trafficking organization who was squatting near Shogo's family would have such a terrible anti-detection ability, but Su Ming could be 100% sure, if he was wearing plain clothes at the time, monitoring and protecting Shogo's family, he would definitely be able to completely pull out this member of the organization who came from Gusu. This is not blind arrogance, but a long-term illness makes a doctor. Lin Tian also sighed secretly. The idea of smoking to relieve his worries kept emerging in his mind, but he suppressed them all, and gestured slowly like a magic needle to stabilize the sea. Although the small mistakes here make the progress of the case somewhat unsatisfactory. But we have also caught another clue. If Qu Pengfei's route is not feasible, then we will directly hunt down this member of the organization in Gusu City. I strongly suspect. The criminal suspect who is currently restricting Qu Pengfei's personal freedom or has killed him is most likely also a member of the organization in Gusu City. This huge drug trafficking organization is really me. I have never encountered it before. Before Lin Tian finished speaking, the mobile phone in his pocket rang again in a rather urgent tone. With the previous call, now Lin Tian became extremely sensitive and immediately picked up the phone, and like Su Chongqing just now, he chose to turn on the speaker. Immediately afterwards, a slightly panicked and urgent voice sounded in the police car. Director Lin. The suspect named Qu Pengfei you want to catch is now standing on the balcony of the top floor room of the Magic City Holiday Hotel, as if he is going to jump off the building. At this moment, Lin Tian didn't need to say anything. Su Chongqing had already stepped on the accelerator with all his strength, showing the best racing skills in the entire Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade except Su Ming. Moda Holiday Hotel. This is one of the few high-end hotels in Huaihai District, because it is inside Fantawild Happy World. The business has been good, and many tourists choose to stay overnight in this hotel every day. It has a total of 19 floors. The top floor is the most expensive VIP suite, and even has unpractical gimmicks such as balcony swimming pools. At this time, there are many tourists and staff of Fantawild Happy World, looking up at the top floor of the Magic City Holiday Hotel, because in their sight, a young man wearing a white coat and glasses on his face, estimated to be about 25 years old, at this moment. He is standing on the edge of the balcony swimming pool, with hard and cold dark gray cement below. There is no doubt, this is Qu Pengfei, who smuggled back to China, the murderer behind the Blue Whale game murder case. A circle of yellow cordon completely blocked the area dozens of meters below him, and no one was allowed to approach to avoid being hit and accidentally injured. At the same time, there were dozens of public security police, and even the director of the police station, shouting with a loudspeaker below, "Tell Qu Pengfei not to do stupid things. Life has just begun in his 20s, so don't go to a dead end, because the 19th floor is too high. The impact of a free fall will reach an unimaginable level, so there is no need to place an inflatable cushion at all, not to mention. Bar Book 69 New, Fantawild Happy World is too remote, and it takes a lot of time to transport inflatable cushions, so if you fall, there is no possibility of survival at all, and you are lucky if you don't turn into a pile of meat paste." Although the police station director below kept shouting, but Qu Pengfei didn't react at all, and he kept his head up all the time, and didn't dare to look down at all. His legs trembled uncontrollably. One hand held the edge of the balcony, and the other hand picked up the phone, crying in fear. I wasn't discovered at all. Using Blue Whale to commit crimes under mind control will definitely not be discovered by the police. Why do you say I didn't pass the test? Besides, even if the police find out, my dad will help me cover up the crime. He will definitely not tell anyone about me. Sculptor, just talk to Boss K and give me another chance. Chance? Didn't I give it to you? The hoarse and crazy voice of a middle-aged man came from the phone next to Qu Pengfei's ear. Isn't it giving you a chance to participate in the test? What other chance do you want? Survive, I want to survive. Before Qu Pengfei finished speaking, the sculptor interrupted him with a cold voice. Hey, don't get excited. If you hang up the phone by accident, I will press the bomb remote control directly, understand? Hearing this, Qu Pengfei subconsciously turned his head to look at the remote-controlled bomb that was flashing and beeping at the back of his waist. His eyes were full of fear and he quickly continued to beg for mercy on the phone. I have copied the video to my notebook as you said and put it in the most conspicuous place in the room. Why can't you let me go? Ming, I admire you the most among all the people in the organization, brother sculptor, let me go. I promise I will never reveal any intelligence information of the organization. Give me a chance, let me talk to Boss K, he said before that I will definitely be a future criminal genius, he will definitely. Once again, before Qu Pengfei finished speaking, he was interrupted directly and rudely, and the impatient voice of the sculptor sounded again. Doctor, do you know? Your life and death is in my hands now, not K's, understand? It's been 20 years. You've rekindled my interest in making special works, do you think there's still a chance? Besides, you don't have to be afraid. I've just given you several injections of painkillers and heroin, so it won't hurt when you jump later. Remember. You'll do as you wrote in your post later. It seems like something, guiding the two female students to fall from the building in the most free posture, straight then jump down from the high building. You have to use this posture later, this is called repentance, understand? Only this way. You are my best work, understand? Oh, right. Don't resist, and don't jump without waiting for my order. Your old man is still alive, and there is probably a chance to get out. I don't think you want to. You love your old man so much, and you are willing to take the blame for your old man. On the first day of your release, you will be cooked and cut into pieces, just like the video I just sent you. Speaking of this, the sculptor paused for 2 seconds and said in a relaxed and comforting tone. Wait well, don't hang up the phone. You have taken so many medicines, it will definitely not hurt, and don't be anxious. Our most important audience has not come yet. If you show such a good work too early, I will. Very unhappy. Chapter 74 The Angry and Crazy Sculptor. Damn, the perfect work was ruined. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pure madman, this is the adjective that the most mysterious K gave to this member of the organization codenamed Sculptor. It is enough to see how out of control and crazy this so-called sculptor is. At this moment, under Su Changxing's full speed, the time that should have been spent was shortened by half, and the sirens had already reached Fantawild Happy World, and in a cabin in the huge Ferris wheel called the Eye of the Magic City. A rather thin middle-aged man with a drawing board and ordinary and inconspicuous clothes, when he heard the sirens, he immediately became alert and squinted in the direction of the Magic City Holiday Hotel. After discovering several police cars driving in, his face immediately showed an excited expression, but it was not clear because the distance was too far. The middle-aged man even picked up the phone that was on the phone, and the contact note was a simple 2 words doctor, and then switched to the background to turn on the camera. Then, pulling the center of the screen, the phone was magnified dozens of times. After seeing the figures of Lin Tian and others, he suddenly widened his eyes excitedly and said hurriedly. Here we are, doctor. Our most important audiences have come to this exhibition. Are you ready? Remember. The posture must be as you said in your own post, jump on your back without worry, understand? Don't worry, it won't hurt. I have also tried those good things. After the injection, the whole person feels comfortable, and even the inspiration becomes more. It will definitely not hurt you, just jump with confidence later. Sculptor. Qu Pengfei's choking and stuttering voice full of tears came out again begging. Give me another chance. Really, I will never say a word, I really won't say a word to them. We are obviously brothers in the organization, why do we have to do this? Didn't Boss K say it before? He is very optimistic about me. Qu Pengfei's series of words of begging for mercy, the sculptor didn't listen carefully at all, and didn't even care at all, because his attention was all on the police cars that had just arrived. At this moment, the police car with sirens blaring drove smoothly all the way to the entrance of the Magic City Holiday Hotel. There was no hesitation at all, even as the car just stopped. Lin Tian immediately opened the door and got out, looking at the nearby police station chief holding a loud speaker and asked, "What's the situation now? Is the criminal suspect emotionally stable?" The police station chief answered without hesitation. "We have arranged a lot of people to squat in the rooms and rooftops on both sides, and the fire department has also come to support. The suspect's mood seems to be fine at the moment. There is no attempt to jump down. Is he still calling his family or relatives to communicate? And the suspect's other hand is still clinging to the edge. I personally feel he probably didn't mean to jump. Maybe he just wants to use this method to get a promise of leniency or something else." Lin Tian looked up at the top floor of the hotel, took the loudspeaker from the police station chief, and explained with a serious expression. "It's not about leniency, let alone calling his family. It's about being threatened by someone in some way. I'm afraid that the so-called phone call was made by the person who wanted to get rid of him in order to control his movements." Staring at Qu Pengfei on the balcony, Lin Tian thought for a few seconds, then tried the loudspeaker and made a call immediately. "Qu Pengfei. I am Lin Tian from the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Team. No matter what you have done, don't choose to give up hope at this time. Remember, there is still room for maneuver, and our police will help you as much as possible. Calm down, what you need most now is calm down." After shouting these words, Lin Tian saw that even though he was shouting like this, Qu Pengfei did not put down his phone or shift his attention to other places, and he kept talking to the phone. He became more and more excited and collapsed, and even began to shake his head. At this moment, the experienced Lin Tian immediately judged that the drug trafficking organization member who was monitoring and coercing Qu Pengfei on the other end of the phone might have issued an ultimatum. Without any hesitation, he quickly looked at the police station chief beside him and said, "Give the order immediately. Let the brothers who are lying in ambush nearby be prepared. They may have to use tough measures to control the suspect. Otherwise, he may jump down at any time. That it is obvious, since Qu Pengfei has not turned into a cold corpse yet, we must try our best to save his life. After all, a living Qu Pengfei is the most valuable." At this time on the Ferris wheel, the sculptor heard Lin Tian's call through the phone. A teasing and sarcastic sneer appeared on his face, and then he ordered without hesitation. "Okay, doctor. It seems that the time is about right. Those who should see this work are here now. Come on. Pose well, I don't need to repeat any poses, right? It must be the kind of suicide pose that looks quite relaxed when falling from a building with your back facing up. That is the best work, understand? Okay, let's get started. This is enough to make people's scalps numb." The sculptor said it without any emotional change. His expression was as relaxed as if he just pinched an ant to death. Don't do this, give me another chance, give me another chance. I promise it will definitely be." Compared to before, now Qu Pengfei's words of begging for mercy have made the sculptor completely impatient, and then he threatened in a cold voice. "Doctor. Now this is not only your confession, but also my second work in the past 20 years, so don't let me press the bomb remote control behind you. In that case, not only will it hurt like hell, but your old man will also become my third work. And the most important thing is..." Speaking of this, the sculptor's voice suddenly increased several degrees, roaring like a roar. "It will ruin the wonderfulness of my work this time. 5 seconds. I will only give you the last 5 seconds to prepare yourself to fall perfectly and become a blue whale to welcome a new life. Otherwise, I will help you complete your not-so-dignified confession." These words, Qu Pengfei collapsed and begged for mercy loudly. The remote-controlled bomb hanging on his lower back was still beeping, but the sculptor ignored him and counted down like the god of death. 5, 4, 3. When he read the third to last, in the cockpit of the Ferris wheel, the sculptor who had been paying attention to the situation in the hotel, suddenly found out, on the rooftop of the hotel where Qu Pengfei was standing, there were firefighters and policemen who were constantly approaching with safety belts tied around their waists. The sculptor, who had always been relaxed, suddenly changed his face and cursed. "Damn it! Damn it!" But the next second, the sculptor immediately picked up the remote control next to him and pressed it without hesitation. Boom! The explosion was not that loud, but the impact caused Qu Pengfei, who was already standing on the edge, to fall rapidly from the building in a twisted and struggling posture. 3 seconds later. Bang! The sound of heavy objects falling from the building was already resounding all around. Mixed with the exclamations and screams of many onlookers standing on the cordon, the scene suddenly became a little chaotic, and the sculptor in the Ferris wheel cabin, he took out his mobile phone again with an expressionless face, pointed it at the location where Qu Pengfei fell from the building, and kept zooming in the camera, when he saw the horrible and bloody scene. The sculptor suddenly stood up and smashed his mobile phone to the ground, pacing back and forth anxiously with his hands on his waist, muttering to himself in great anger. "Damn it! Damn it! My originally perfect work was ruined." Chapter 75. The video left by Qu Pengfei. A head held in bloody hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sudden explosion, and Qu Pengfei, who was hit and fell from the building, caused a commotion at the scene. Of course, the commotion was only caused by the dragon people who were outside the cordon and good at watching the excitement. The criminal police, police officers and firefighters inside the cordon only moved a little at the moment of the explosion, and then they immediately took orderly actions. The director of the surrounding police station hurriedly called the emergency doctor on standby. "Doctor, come and take a look." But this was just a show, from the 19th floor to the unobstructed fall, let alone whether you can survive. I hope you won't be a pancake directly, but you can't let the people who are a little commotion at the moment and the media reporters who are rushing over to talk about it, so the rescue that should be done is still done reluctantly. At this moment, several doctors came forward with various instruments. But even if there is no fall from the building, the hideous explosion wounds on his back and waist would never give Qu Pengfei any hope of survival. Lin Tian stood there, watching the blood that continued to flow out and gather into a small river. Although he remained silent, his clenched fists with bulging veins were enough to feel his deep and powerful anger. In the eyes of ordinary people and reporters, this fall from the building was probably just a simple suicide out of fear of crime, and it was not worth taking too seriously, but in Lin Tian's opinion, this was not suicide out of fear of crime at all. From shaking his head while answering the phone, holding the edge of the balcony with one hand, and finally being knocked down by the shock wave of the explosion, all of this shows, this is an unprecedented provocation. No criminal organization has ever dared to do this series of things arrogantly in the territory of Longguo. Let's not talk about drug trafficking, just calling the Criminal Investigation Brigade, asking the police to collect the bodies by name, and finally using explosives that were banned by law. The arrogance of this huge drug trafficking organization has far exceeded Lin Tian's imagination. In addition, 20 years ago, the real murderer of the May 13th dismemberment case was also lurking in this drug trafficking organization, which made Lin Tian want to completely dig out the rotten roots, and his idea became stronger and more rooted in his heart. He exhaled heavily, he looked at Wang Hu and Su Chongqing next to him and waved his hand. "Xiao Ming, a Sheng. Let's go to the room where Qu Pengfei fell from the building first, and see if there are any clues. Wait for the doctor to issue a death report here, and then we will take over. Hurry up." The road was smooth. The three people with the hotel's universal room card have arrived at the luxury suite booked by Qu Pengfei. Yes, this suite was not booked by others. Qu Pengfei booked this luxury suite with his ID card an hour ago without any cover. Arrived at the door of the luxury suite, Su Chongqing swiped the universal room card lightly, and then pushed the door open. According to the hotel staff, when we arrived at the hotel, Qu Pengfei was the only one there. No one else followed him, and he was holding the phone all the time. Now, We can only hope that Qu Pengfei can leave us some clues. I think if everyone is forced into a desperate situation by that organization, no matter how timid and cowardly they are, they should have the idea of dragging everyone down with them, right? Lin Tian, who was standing next to him, also approached, looking at the luxury suite with no signs of fighting or living. He guessed that Qu Pengfei was threatened to stand on the edge of the balcony as soon as he arrived at the suite. He then shook his head helplessly and said meaningfully, "Even if there is an idea, it does not mean that there is a chance to do it. Because the small bomb is likely to have been installed on Qu Pengfei. Once there is any unusual movement, the member of the organization responsible for solving this matter will most likely press the remote control button without hesitation. Because he was threatened with his life. So although he clearly had a desire to survive that was no less than that of ordinary people, Qu Pengfei stood outside the edge of the balcony and did not dare to move half a step inside. Or this organization actually had a way to quietly solve Qu Pengfei without causing such a big impact and sensation. But in order to provoke our police, they chose such an arrogant method. Compared with Lin Tian and Su Changsheng, Su Ming's thinking direction was obviously somewhat different. He recalled the scene of Qu Pengfei falling from the building, the experience of the skinny dog's wife and the woman, and the style and methods of this organization in the past. He couldn't help but frown slightly and said slowly and thoughtfully, "Director Lin, Brother Sheng. I have a bold inference. Could it be that in addition to Qu Pengfei, there were two other members of the drug trafficking organization in the Magic City before? Because if there was only one criminal, although it can be inferred from a series of processes. By monitoring Shogo's wife and daughter, we found that Lao Chen and Aki were plainclothes and knew about our actions. Then we controlled and solved Qu Pengfei, which was indeed enough to complete on the timeline. But the difference in behavior style is too big. According to Lao Chen, when he was planning to kill Shogo's wife and daughter, he used a Shiba Inu as bait, and he didn't even show up. You can say that. Although this method of committing crimes is easy to crack, it is indeed very covert. But just now in the case of Qu Pengfei, the member of the organization responsible for solving the problem was unexpectedly arrogant. Not only did he make a special phone call, he even used a bomb openly. This is very different from the cautious style of the entire drug trafficking organization before. I think. If this drug trafficking organization has always been so arrogant, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to hide for so long and was not discovered until today. At this moment, Lin Tian already understood what Su Ming meant, and nodded slightly. Xiao Ming, what do you mean? The man who monitored Shogo's wife and the woman should be a member of the drug trafficking organization who came to Magic City from Gusu City to assist in the assessment of Qu Pengfei. And the person who solved Qu Pengfei this time is most likely a member of the organization who originally stayed or lived in Magic City. If we continue to speculate boldly, then the member of the organization responsible for executing Qu Pengfei this time is likely to be the same person as the murderer of the 5.13 dismemberment case. Of course this is pure speculation. Before Lin Tian finished speaking, Su Changsheng, who walked into the suite first, suddenly shouted with a little excitement. Master, Xiao Ming, come here quickly. Qu Pengfei seems to have left something for us. As soon as the voice fell, Su Ming and Lin Tian, who were analyzing, approached without hesitation. In the living room of the suite, a notebook was placed diagonally on the coffee table, as if it was playing a video repeatedly. At this moment, the video happened to start a new round of playback. Just when the three of them were somewhat confused, on the screen of the laptop on the coffee table, a pair of bloody hands suddenly appeared, and in the hands was a bloody long-haired human head. Chapter 76. Su Ming proposed to block Happy World, which is a provocation to the police. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The bloody hand and head that suddenly appeared, Su Ming and the other two present all raised their eyebrows in surprise, although as criminal police, they were not scared by such a scene, but they still felt a little weird, especially, the video being played on the laptop had very poor quality, and the old filter with a sense of age undoubtedly made the atmosphere more creepy. But the next second, when Lin Tian looked at the long-haired head carefully for a few times, he clenched his fists. and gritted his teeth to suppress his anger. The deceased in the video is the victim of the 5.13 dismemberment case at Magic City University, Wu Jingqing. Although so many years have passed, and although the head of the victim being held in the video is covered with blood in the video, it is a little difficult to distinguish. But it only takes one look. I can clearly judge that the head in this video is the victim of the 5.13 dismemberment case 20 years ago. These words, although they sound a little creepy, but Su Ming and Su Changxing had no doubts about its authenticity, because, that case of dismemberment at Magic City University, Lin Tian had watched it over and over again in the past 20 years, and he had reopened the case for many times. Even though the head of the deceased found at that time was completely cooked by the murderer and the specific appearance could not be distinguished, but in that era when there was no beauty filter, it was completely possible to restore and determine the appearance of the deceased before his death through various portraits and life photos, so when he saw this old video now, Lin Tian could be so sure. At this moment, the three of them tacitly stopped talking and watched the video in the notebook in silence. The bloody hand in the picture was not just holding the victim's head, but began to consciously turn the head. It was as if he was showing his work. Tens of seconds later, as the head was shown, the video screen also changed. It became a studio completely wrapped in black film, with only a simple workbench, a chopping board and several knives on the table. Then, a man wearing a one-piece black raincoat, yellow rubber gloves, and a heavy cotton hat on his face, with only his eyes exposed, walked slowly to the camera. He was holding a cooked female arm in his hand and put it on the chopping board on the workbench. Because the bones were removed in advance, the whole arm looked a little limp. Then, the man picked up a meat cleaver on the chopping board, waved it lightly twice, and threw it aside as if he was a little dissatisfied. He picked up another one, but he also just waved it twice and threw it aside unsatisfied. Then he picked up another one, but this time, after simply waving it twice, the man seemed to suddenly understand something, put the knife down. He quickly took off the yellow rubber gloves he was wearing, and then picked up the meat cleaver and waved it twice, and then nodded with satisfaction. There was no hesitation at all. He began to cut with his right hand awkwardly, and he had to stop and look at it for a few seconds after each cut, as if he was comparing. In this section, although there is no noise, the sound of cutting meat alone is enough to put a heavy psychological burden on people. If this video is posted online, it is estimated that few people can withstand the impact of the picture. After all, what is cut in the video is not pigs, cattle or sheep, but people. That's it. After the murderer in the video slowly cut the entire arm, he looked at the pieces of meat with different sizes and shapes, and trembled with excitement. It's even more anxious and nostalgic than the golden cutting rate of 0.618. This is a truly perfect work. The voice fell, the video also ended, and a new cycle began, a pair of bloody hands holding. After watching it once, Su Changxing couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, and said slowly with some surprise. This video should be the recording of the murderer of the May 13th dismemberment case. That's the case. Qu Pengfei left us clues and evidence of the drug trafficking organization even though he knew he was going to die. Is this the video of the crime downloaded from their organization's dark web? After all, it is impossible for anyone else to record it like this except for the real murderer. Su Ming, who was standing next to him, keenly noticed the USB flash drive plugged in next to the laptop, and then spoke thoughtfully. There is a USB flash drive plugged in next to this laptop. If nothing unexpected happens, this video should be stored in this USB flash drive. If Qu Pengfei knows that he will be dealt with by other members of the organization if he fails the assessment, then this USB flash drive is likely to contain other people's case materials or videos to drag them into the water. But if there is no other people's criminal information, and there is only this video of the 5.13 dismemberment case, I think this is very likely another provocation from the drug trafficking organization. Because 20 years ago, our Huaihai police force did not solve the dismemberment case, and the murderer of that case is now a member of the drug trafficking organization. Lin Tian did not answer for the time being. Instead, he took out his mobile phone and took a few photos of the scene, then stepped forward with a cold look and temporarily closed the video. First, he clicked on the corresponding folder, and after finding that there were no other videos, he looked at the file path again, then he fell silent. His cheeks moved obviously a few times, which was enough to show Lin Tian's anger. And he said coldly, "Xiao Ming is really right. This is not the criminal information that Qu Pengfei wants to report, it is completely a provocative video sent by the drug trafficking organization. He. Such an arrogant criminal organization, Lin Tian, have opened my eyes in this life." That he exhaled a strong breath. After calming down his inner anger, Lin Tian stood up and gestured. "Let's go to other places to see if there are any clues." There is no need to remind, the three of them came to the balcony where the explosion occurred before, where a small hole the size of a fist was blown out, which was not particularly large, but tied behind one person's waist, it was enough to be fatal, not to mention that he was shaken down the stairs by the impact. There were still some remnants of explosives, and a rather thick smell of gunpowder that had not yet dissipated. Su Ming gently picked up a piece of explosion debris, gently brushed off the remaining explosives, gently sniffed his fingers, and said solemnly, "Director Lin, Brother Sheng. I think, the assessment of the danger level of this drug trafficking organization is more serious. Because the purity of this explosive is already quite amazing, it is much more powerful than the homemade bombs made by normal criminals. Very likely. In this drug trafficking organization, there is a member who is extremely good at making gunpowder bombs. By the way, when Qu Pengfei was blown down the stairs just now, I observed something. Although Qu Pengfei was very emotional at the time, and his various movements were a bit anxious, he did not think that he would be blown down the stairs immediately, and he did not have the mood of waiting for death. So the bomb on Qu Pengfei's back is most likely a miniature remote-controlled bomb. As for the specific remote control distance, because this miniature bomb has been shattered and scattered, it is difficult to determine it specifically through the built-in chip. But I think, should we try to block Fantawild Happy World and conduct a strict and comprehensive screening? Chapter 77 I know the organization's dark web address, Qu Wenbiao's trump card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Block Fantawild Happy World. Su Ming's proposal stunned Lin Tian and Su Chongsheng, but they both considered it seriously, because Fantawild Happy World is one of the most visited areas in the entire Huaihai district. Although today is not a holiday, there are still many tourists. If they block and check one by one, the panic and impact caused may be immeasurable. The most important thing is, Google search TWKN. Due to Qu Pengfei's jumping incident just now, many media have come to report, and many people who are afraid of panic and riots are scrambling to leave Happy World and have no intention of continuing to play, in this case. If you want to block and screen Fantawild Happy World, the difficulty is unprecedentedly high. After a few seconds, Lin Tian shook his head helplessly, sighed and made a decision. No. We must not blockade Fantawild Happy World, because there are too many tourists. Plus, there are many media outlets. If we conduct a blockade screening like this, and if we find the real members of the organization, then everyone will be happy, and we can find a suitable reason for the blockade. If we don't find them, or if the hidden members of the organization are not in Fantawild Happy World at all, the impact of public opinion and loss of credibility will be so difficult to handle. It's not that I, Lin Tian, am unwilling to gamble on the white shirt I'm wearing, but the probability of catching them is not high, and we criminal police can't handle cases this way. Speaking of this, Lin Tian paused for 2 seconds, and then continued thoughtfully. But although the blockade screening is not possible, it should be no problem to ask Fantawild to provide surveillance footage from various locations today and a list of tourists who have entered the park. We will arrange this matter later. I hope we can find relevant clues. Take all the photos. Prepare to go down and take a look at Qu Pengfei's body. If there are no usable clues, bring it back to the team for forensic Dr. Shen to perform an autopsy. In any case, the Should Middle School fall case is over. But the bigger case. It has also been dug up, as the paramedics pulled out an electrocardiogram that showed a straight line. This shows, Qu Pengfei, the mastermind behind the Should Middle School fall case, who used consciousness to control the murder, has completely left this world at the legal level, the way of death. It is not much different from Zhang Wan, who he killed, both fell to death, this has to be said. It can indeed be called the word repentance, since there were no clues left on Qu Pengfei's body. He was taken to the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade after taking a few photos. Under normal circumstances, such deceased people would be taken to the funeral home, where the forensic doctor would perform an autopsy to find clues, of course. This does not mean that the Criminal Investigation Brigade cannot perform an autopsy, it is just that if the autopsy is performed in the funeral home, the post-processing of some bodies can be done by the professionals of the funeral home. If it were in the Criminal Investigation Brigade, the forensic doctor would have to open the abdomen and repair it himself, but because Qu Pengfei's only relative, Qu Wenbiao, is currently detained in the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade, so, in order to let Qu Wenbiao see his son for the last time, the body was directly taken to the Forensic Technology Department of the Criminal Investigation Brigade. As for the so-called unlucky and creepy idea, that is nonsense. After the group returned to the Criminal Investigation Brigade, Lin Tian copied the video in the USB drive first, and then returned to his office alone, probably lighting a cigarette to look for clues again. Bar Book 69 New. Su Ming and Su Chongxing were naturally not idle. He walked into the interrogation room without stopping, and saw Qu Wenbiao looking up at the ceiling. Judging from his red forehead, he probably hit his head against the table of the interrogation chair a lot, which was enough to show his regret and pain. But I don't know, is it regretful that he had quarreled with Qu Pengfei, which led to his joining the drug trafficking organization, or regretting choosing to murder students of the school? With him, it may be both, but the former is probably much higher than the latter. Su Ming glanced at Qu Wenbiao and said nothing more. He went forward to untie him from the interrogation chair and said expressionlessly, "Let's go. Let's go somewhere with us." Qu Wenbiao, with dull eyes, leaned against the soft wall and tilted his head slightly, opened his mouth and said hoarsely, "Where to go? Are you going to send me to the detention center to be convicted?" Speaking of this, Qu Wenbiao showed a forced smile on his face, with the only hope. "Sure enough, you didn't find my son. It seems to be the same as I thought. How could those people be so easy to—" Before Qu Wenbiao finished speaking, Su Chongxing waved his hand and interrupted his subsequent words. With a rather pitying look, he looked at Qu Wenbiao and shook his head. "Principal Qu, I think you may have guessed wrong. We are not going to take you to the detention center, but to the Forensic Technology Department." Hearing the word forensic doctor, Qu Wenbiao's eyes widened immediately, and he trembled and stuttered quickly. Is Xiaopeng what's wrong? Did anything happen to him?" At this time, Su Chongxing did not answer again, but he and Su Ming each carried Qu Wenbiao to the Forensic Technology Department. 3 minutes later, seeing the cold and lifeless body in the body bag, and even the body was so mutilated that it was a bit unbearable to look at. The only hope left in Qu Wenbiao's eyes suddenly became gloomy and desperate, and even the sadness and pain that could not cry, his lips began to tremble uncontrollably, and he opened his mouth as if he wanted to shout, want to curse, want to say something, but he could not say a word. From the fact that Qu Wenbiao was willing to help his son take the blame and even help him select the target of murder, it was enough to see how important Qu Pengfei was to Qu Wenbiao. There was no need to say more. Although Qu Wenbiao did not deserve sympathy at all, and he had brought it upon himself to this day, Su Chongxing still sighed, shook his head and said, "When we arrived at the scene, he had already been controlled by other members of the drug trafficking organization. A remote-controlled bomb was installed on his waist, and he was forced to stand outside the balcony on the 19th floor. At that time, he was still calling the murderer behind the scenes to beg for mercy, but it was of no use at all. When our police decided to rescue him by force, the micro-remote-controlled bomb on his waist was detonated, and the terrifying impact caused him to fall directly from the 19th floor. There was no need for any rescue at that time. It's a pity. Although it can't be guaranteed, if you can tell us in advance, there may be some chance." Hearing this, Qu Wenbiao didn't say anything, but just stretched out his hand and kept stroking his son's pale cheek. It was as if he was recalling the past and continuing to regret his decision. After half a minute, Qu Wenbiao, staring at his son's body in front of him, was deeply angry and resentful, and said hoarsely with great determination, "I know. The dark web address of their organization. Chapter 78 Is someone blocking access to the dark web? Give me the computer, I'll be a hacker. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Organization dark web address. Wenbiao's words were like a huge rock thrown into the calm water, attracting attention. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Su Changsheng asked without hesitation. Dark web address. Principal Qu, do you know the dark web address of this drug trafficking organization? Obviously, this news is really shocking. Su Changsheng couldn't believe it, for fear of missing this key clue, because, according to Wenbiao's previous interrogation confession, it is very likely that this dark web is a place where members of the drug trafficking organization use to communicate various murder or anti-detection techniques. If you can enter this dark web, then all the murder details of members of this drug trafficking organization over the years, from how to select victims, to committing crimes, and avoiding police pursuit, they will all be clearly presented in front of you. In other words, as long as you can know those posts, through those shared murder methods and details, you can identify the real murderers of those unsolved cases. Wenbiao did not respond immediately, but continued to stare at the cold body bag in front of him and said hoarsely. That URL is the internal dark web that Xiaopeng told me to write down. I still remember that he told me. If he fails the assessment this time, something happens to him, and I am caught by the police. Then use this dark web address to strive for an opportunity to make meritorious service and spend fewer years in prison. After all, in that drug trafficking organization, all of them are executioners who have committed murders. If you give clues and catch them all, the degree of meritorious service and atonement must be beyond imagination. But I would rather not need this opportunity. At this point, Wenbiao was already choking with sobs, his face twisted into a ball, shaking his head and sobbing. But I would rather not have this opportunity. At this moment, Wenbiao squatted down in pain, one hand still holding his son's cold and pale palm, and the other hand kept pounding the ground. He seemed to want to curse, roar, and vent his anger, but in the end he did nothing. Tens of seconds later, Wenbiao seemed to have sorted out his emotions, stood up expressionlessly, and stretched out his hand to Su Changsheng. Officer Su. Give me a piece of paper and a pen, and I will write down the URL of the internal dark web for you. Without hesitation, Su Changsheng immediately picked up a pen from the table next to him, and tore a piece of white paper and handed it to Wenbiao. Take the paper and pen. Wenbiao placed the white paper on his left palm, and gently wrote down a series of English addresses with the pen in his right hand, and handed it to Su Changsheng. This is the dark web address. By the way, Xiaopeng told me that there seemed to be some restrictions on logging into the dark web, but he was not very clear. He said that only the notebook given by this organization could log into this website. Other computers or mobile phones cannot log into this dark web. I don't know if you have any way, but I hope you can find a way to log into the dark web. Because I can't accept it now. They killed Xiaopeng like this and can still get away with it. Although the latter sentence made Su Ming, who was standing next to him, want to mock and accuse Wenbiao of double standards, but considering the stimulation of the pain of losing his son, he silently did not choose to express any opinion, and Su Changsheng took the white paper, took out his mobile phone to take a photo, and then handed it to Su Ming. Xiao Ming. Principal Qu, I'll be with you here. Go to the technical department for help now and see if you can log into the dark web. I'm worried that if we delay for a while, this clue will also be cut off by the drug trafficking organization, and the case will become more difficult again. Su Changsheng's concerns and arrangements are very reasonable. Su Ming took the white paper with the website address and nodded in response. Understood. I'll go to the technical department now. After that, Su Ming left the temporary body storage point without hesitation and came to the criminal investigation technology department not far away. Seeing Wang Hu, who was busy watching the sky eye, Su Ming greeted him without hesitation. Who's he? I have a criminal organization's dark web here. Can you guys try to log in? According to Wenbiao's confession, there are probably many details of unsolved murders in recent years in this dark web, and they are related to that huge drug trafficking organization. What the hell? Is Brother Ming real? Wang Hu exclaimed and continued. Is this the dark web that the drug trafficking organization uses to share murder techniques? Wang Hu's shocked shout immediately attracted the other technical police officers who were busy looking for clues. Knowing that Su Ming would definitely not joke, Wang Hu quickly handed the note to a police officer next to him who was wearing black-framed glasses and looked not much older than him, and said, "Brother Quan, hurry up and sit down, and see if you can break through the blockade of this dark web. If you can log into this dark web, it is estimated that the huge drug trafficking organization will be rooted out in no time." The police officer, who was called Brother Quan, habitually adjusted his black-framed glasses, sat down on the chair and began to enter the URL in the police station's dedicated laptop, but the next second, a red prompt box prohibiting access appeared in the middle of the screen. It was obvious, this dark web does have some restrictions, at least not the type that anyone can access by simply entering the URL. This effective restriction method has, in a sense, eliminated the possibility of accidental exposure of the dark web. Seeing the red box that popped up, Wang Hu did not have any worries and explained with a faint smile. "Don't worry, Brother Ming. Brother Quan was originally recruited from the Internet Police Department by the Lin Bureau to the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Team. My current master in the technical department should have no problem breaking into the dark web of criminals. The female anchor's water-damaged phone was repaired and unlocked by him. He is proficient in various mobile phone repairs, mechanical repairs, deleted file recovery, etc. He even worked as a hacker for 2 years when he was young and ignorant. Now he has been recruited. After all, the government still has a good job." Su Ming nodded gently in response. The Brother Quan mentioned by Wang Hu, whose full name is Quan, is indeed quite proficient in various hacking techniques. In recent years, the criminal investigation teams in other districts of the Magic City, and even the Magic City Public Security Headquarters, have come to Quan for help. At this moment, Quan's slender fingers kept tapping on the keyboard, and command instruction boxes kept popping up, but every time it popped up, it was followed by a prompt that the login permission was not obtained. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, after more than half an hour, Quan took his hands off the keyboard, adjusted his glasses, and stared at the dark web address in front of him in disbelief. Impossible. How can a criminal organization design such a highly secure dark web? This dark web actually needs to verify both the machine code and the internal password. Even if you have an account and password to log in, if the machine code is wrong, you will be directly blocked from access. It's hard for me to imagine that a criminal organization can design this kind of double protection with machine code. But it can also explain. The severity of the content in this dark web is definitely beyond our imagination. At this point, Quan paused for 2 seconds, looked at Su Ming who had been standing behind him, and said helplessly, "At present, I can't log into this dark web in a short time. I have just tried many means of penetration, but none of them worked. If I am given about a week to write special software and scripts to try passwords and penetration again and again, maybe I can log into this dark web. I'm afraid it will be difficult these days." "A week?" Hearing that it would take so long, everyone present fell silent, because the current drug trafficking organization is complicated and involves a wide range of people, and its members have anti-detection capabilities and harmfulness beyond ordinary criminals. Everyone has at least one murder case on their back. 1 week, it's really too long. Looking at the dark web address in front of him, Su Ming narrowed his eyes slightly, and then pointed to the screen and said, "Can't log in? Then I'll do it." Chapter 79. Su Ming forcefully breaks the blockade and unveils the terrifying veil of the dark web. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Then I'll do it." Su Ming's words were unquestionable. Diamond suit. Quan was subconsciously stunned for a moment, and then he quickly stood up from his seat and said, "Oh, okay. Then you try it." The other police officers present all showed strange expressions, and Quan couldn't break through the dark web. Could Su Ming, who is now focusing on criminal investigation and reasoning, do better than Quan? Although there was something unspeakable strange in their hearts, no one questioned anything out loud. After all, in the recent murder investigations, Su Ming has made extremely important contributions, so if he wants to try it now naturally no one will say anything. At this moment, Su Ming sat on the chair, looking at the special computer in front of him and the many command prompts on the screen, and gently exhaled a breath of turbid air. The next second, his eyes suddenly became sharp, and his hands quickly tapped on the keyboard. Let's not talk about anything else, just the proficiency in inputting command symbols and typing IP addresses is indeed somewhat impressive. At least, the many technical police officers standing behind Su Ming looked at each other in astonishment, their eyes full of confusion and doubt. Wang Hu was even more confused. He touched his head with some doubts. Looking at Su Ming's hands that kept typing various indicators, he began to doubt inexplicably. When he was in the police academy, did he miss a few classes, or was he accidentally hit by a car and lost his memory? Otherwise, why don't I know this technology? Didn't we take classes and train together? It was really during math class, I accidentally lowered my head to pick up a pen, and it turned from addition, subtraction, multiplication and division into calculus, right? As the saying goes. Laymen watched the excitement, experts watched the doorway, when Wang Hu and the other police officers in the technical department were just curious and amazed at Su Ming's fast typing on the keyboard, and Quan, who was standing next to him, also widened his eyes and adjusted his glasses in disbelief. Because that if the technique he used before was simulation and trial and error in order to avoid the various screening methods of this dark web, then the method Su Ming chose now is to directly and forcefully invade the internal program and try to completely master the entire dark web server. If it succeeds, you can directly force remote control of the dark web server and grant this laptop the qualification to log in. Even, you can also get extremely high permissions. As long as there is enough time, all the records of this dark web will be completely exposed and no longer secrets, of course. The difficulty of this forced breakthrough, compared with the hidden access to the dark web, it is also several times higher, at least, and Quan believes that it is highly unlikely to be done with his current hacking skills, and he dare not try this technology easily, because if the forced breakthrough fails, it is easy to leave access records and alert the enemy. I am afraid that the next day, this important dark web address will be completely abandoned. Hiding and simulating login is the safest means. Violent breakthrough requires risks. And Quan wanted to remind him out loud, but seeing Su Ming's eyes showed no worry, only hidden confidence and ease, and the command symbols he typed with his hands did not stop, and Quan suddenly had an idea that was a bit incredible to himself. Maybe Su Ming can really break through this dark web by force. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, when 15 minutes were about to pass, Su Ming suddenly stopped typing on the keyboard, turned his head and looked at Wang Hu and gave him instructions. Hu Zi. Turn on the recording on your phone and aim it at the laptop screen. Don't shake your hands later. Hearing this, Wang Hu was stunned for a moment. While taking out his phone from his pocket, the phone was puzzled. Brother Ming, what are you going to record? Aren't you still not logged into the dark web? I see that the browser interface hasn't changed. As soon as the voice fell, and Quan, who had been standing next to him, adjusted his glasses habitually again, and exclaimed with horror in his eyes. At present, multiple blockades have been broken. As long as Su Ming presses the Enter key, he can log into this dark web directly. But the designer of this dark web also wrote a local hardware warning that cannot be changed remotely. Once someone logs into this dark web, an alarm text message will be sent to a certain mobile phone number immediately. I think the person who created this dark web is probably the leader of the criminal organization, and the warning text message is naturally sent to him. At the same time, even if it is a member of this drug trafficking organization, every time they want to log into this dark web, they may need to pass at least 3 layers of blockade. The first is the machine code, the second is the login account and password of the dark web, and the third is the permission of the leader of this drug trafficking organization. Speaking of this, and Quan also took out the mobile phone in his pocket, pointed it at the laptop screen, and gestured expressionlessly. The latest model of Longway flagship phone has much higher pixels than other mobile phones, and it will be clearer when recording later. Since the dark web restricts screen recording, we can only use this traditional screen recording method. Although it is a bit outdated, it is indeed very practical. In Quan's explanation. Su Ming nodded in agreement, and then continued to add. I originally planned to copy all the data directly from the server, so as to avoid being discovered after logging in. But I analyzed it carefully. I found that the person who created the dark web is very cautious. Once someone tries to browse or copy all the data through the server, the next second, all the data will be cleared and deleted, and it will be completely unrecoverable. So you can only log into the dark web to view the content. After logging into this dark web, the leader of the drug trafficking organization should also receive an early warning message immediately. Since no one has contacted him, and no one has applied, given the leader's cautiousness, he probably won't ask the members of the organization one by one, and he will probably cut off the server directly at that time. So we must hurry up and get as many clues and information as possible. Su Ming paused for a few seconds, looked around at all the technical police officers behind him who picked up their mobile phones to record and avoid missing clues, squinted his eyes and said coldly. Now, let's take a good look at how many secrets this drug trafficking organization can have. As the voice fell, Su Ming pressed the enter key with his index finger, and as the browser page refreshed, he successfully obtained access authorization. At this moment, the dark web of the drug trafficking organization has been completely exposed to everyone. Chapter 80 Major Breakthrough, all the subordinates of the drug trafficking organization are exposed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the enter key was pressed, the blockade of the entire dark web was completely lifted. Everyone present stared at the laptop screen with burning eyes. Of course, except Su Ming, everyone else held up their mobile phones to record the video. The website was successfully logged in. A spherical loading model appeared in the middle of the screen and rotated for a few seconds. The internal forum, which was dark red in color, had already appeared in front of everyone. The first thing that caught my eye was 4 extremely conspicuous letters that seemed to be stained with blood, which just formed an English word, kill, and at the top of the letter K, there were several wounds that looked like bullet marks. The login interface did not have any content, only this pattern that seemed to represent the name of the organization. At the top of the interface, there were 4 options that could be clicked to jump. These 4 options were, latest intelligence, agency information, failed cases, and the last option marked with successful cases, since from the moment of login. The alarm message was sent to the mobile phone of the leader of the drug trafficking organization. Su Ming did not hesitate at all. First click on the first option of the latest intelligence. The next second, several clickable intelligence messages appeared. The organization's reserve member, the doctor, failed the assessment in the Magic City this time, and is currently carrying out criminal punishment. A new batch of high-purity heroin has arrived, with a total weight of 80 kilograms. Each member should apply according to the demand of the city where they are located. The Magic City agent's skinny dog has been put into the kiln. People have been sent to keep an eye on his family. Please control the agents below and don't reveal your identity. The doctor has shared the details and specific ideas of his crime. It is roughly to use mind control to kill people. Interested members can browse through the link below. Seeing these internal intelligence information posts, Su Ming immediately understood that since the organization members are distributed in various cities, these posts are written to publish and notify the latest organization news. If you click in one by one to view, you will definitely be able to obtain a lot of intelligence and information, but time is too tight. The alarm information has been sent out. It depends on how long the leader of the drug trafficking organization can respond and deal with it, so now every second counts, and there is no time to read these drug trafficking organization news in detail. At the same time that Su Ming also discovered a very important point, that is, Shogo was called the agent of Modu in the post, and the second option of the forum was agent information. Doesn't that mean that this option will contain the identities and information of all the current agents of Longwa? As long as these things are obtained, wouldn't it be possible to destroy the most important first-level distribution network of this huge drug trafficking organization in a short period of time? Thinking of this, Su Ming did not hesitate at all, and immediately clicked the agent information option. As the spherical loading ended, a series of agent lists have appeared in front of everyone. Devil City Agent, Skinny Dog, arrested. Contact, 139XXXXXXXX. Home address, Room 402, Building 5, Huaihai Xingfuyuan Community. Magic City, relatives, wife and daughter, member, doctor, Gusu agent, fat cat, normal, contact, 158XXX, member, poison, Jinling agent, Zhao Si, normal, contact, 186XXX, member, lich, Mingzhou agent, Zhang San, normal, contact, 186XXX, member, Babu. Seeing this series of agent information, now everyone behind Su Ming was stunned, and they all took a breath of cold air at the same time. Because, being in the public security system, they know more clearly how valuable and amazing these displayed agent information are. It is no exaggeration to say, as long as all the people on the list are caught, this huge drug trafficking organization will not be able to recover for at least several years, and the harm will be reduced several times, because the list is a bit long. Su Ming slowly scrolled down, his eyes full of sharpness and coldness. Wang Hu said with some doubt while recording it with his mobile phone. The name of the agent is written on it. It should be a drug dog like Shogo, who is quite famous in the city, right? Then the subordinate members below. Does it mean the upper line that controls them in the drug trafficking organization, that is, the members of the organization? For example, Qu Pengfei controls Shogo, and his title in the drug trafficking organization is Doctor. And in this address book, there are a total of 11 subordinate members' titles. Does this mean? If Qu Pengfei is deducted, there should be 10 members in this drug trafficking organization. Regarding Wang Hu's guess, Su Ming raised his eyebrows thoughtfully, but shook his head after thinking for a moment and inferred. There should be more than 10, at least 11. Because the source of high-purity drugs is Luzhou City, but in this contact interface, there are no Luzhou City's offline drug dogs. So I am extremely suspicious now. The leader of this drug trafficking organization is currently hiding in Luzhou City. It was he who brought and established this high-purity drug sales network. And a huge drug trafficking organization. A few minutes ago, the tallest Xingxing building in Luzhou City, on the top floor that has been converted into a leisure open-air swimming pool. A young man wearing sunglasses and beach pants, lying on a soft chair enjoying the breeze on the high floor, he was gently shaking the red wine glass in his hand, looking at the middle-aged man sitting next to him, constantly wiping a heavy sniper rifle, with a cigar in his mouth, and spoke slowly. Pastor. You said it's been so many years. I finally made up my mind and was ready to take a big bite of the cream cake of the Magic City. I even screened the people for several rounds, and finally confirmed that the doctor had the ability to control the Magic City. I also read the records of his killing process, and there was indeed no problem. Under normal circumstances, he would not be suspected at all. But in the end, it's not even half a day, and he was caught like this, which is shorter than the time of any previous assessment failure. After looking at so many cases, he was caught in less than half a day. It's really stupid. Hearing these words, the middle-aged man next to him, who was called the priest and holding a cigar, just stopped for 2 seconds to respond and think, and then wiped the sniper rifle in his hand again, without saying anything. It's not disrespect, but there is no need to say anything. Their boss K never needs other people's opinions. K sighed helplessly, still shaking the red wine glass in his hand, ready to close his eyes and rest. The phone on the workbench next to him suddenly rang with a quick text message. K didn't hesitate at all, and quickly picked up the phone to take a look, and saw the alarm message that someone had logged into the dark web forum. He quickly recalled 2 seconds and confirmed that no member had communicated with him in advance, and his eyes suddenly became cold. A dog smelled over here.